Okay, Ashley, can I have a roll call, please?
The Zoom meeting hung. She is no longer on the call.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Give a roll call?
Melby,
Here.
Jurdy,
Here.
Erickson,
Here.
Briggs,
Here.
Here.
Cavalier.
Here.
Kressel.
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Bedrod.
Get it for next time. Yeah, he wants his time to be number one. Right, Joe?
We're set, okay. All right, it's time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address the council on any issue already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please. Hearing none from the chambers. Chad, anybody on the phone bridge?
No, Your Honor, I will close the bridge.
Thank you.
Agent logged off.
Okay, we have one proclamation tonight. City of Crookston mayoral proclamation declare May 8th through the 14th, 2022, National Skilled Nursing Care Week. Whereas we honor and respect our elders and citizens of any age with physical or intellectual disabilities who reside in skilled nursing care centers in Crookston. And whereas skilled nursing care centers throughout our area are holding Nursing Care Week festivities in observance of National Skilled Nursing Care Week, May 18th through the 14th, 2022, using this year's theme of creating and nurturing connections. And whereas I urge all citizens to virtually visit or call a loved one, family member, or friend residing in any care setting and offer a kind word and spend time participating in various virtual activities to ensure those from all walks of life in need of our continuing love and support. And whereas my administration is committed to quality health care, we take this moment to embrace the essences of the theme, creating and nurturing connections. Let's join all skilled nursing care centers, their staff, volunteers, residents, and families and friends in celebrating this special week. And now therefore, I, Dale Stainbrook, Mayor of the City of Crookston, do hereby proclaim May 8th through the 14th, 2022, as National Skilled Nursing Care Week, a week to honor the important role that skilled nursing care centers provide in caring for and protecting our most vulnerable citizens. In testimony whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the official seal of the City of Crookston, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim May 18th for 14th, 2022 as National Skilled Nursing Care Week. Okay, we got a couple representatives, one from the Villa and two from the Villa and one from Riverview. All right, congratulations, thank you. Enjoy the week. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'll picture.
Thank you.
One more, I guess. All right, thank you. Okay. All right, this brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Kressel,
Aye.
See.
Glad,
Aye.
Bedrun,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Okay, this brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Tom. Roll call, please.
Russell,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Ned Brunton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Dirty,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Okay, we have one public hearing. Ashley.
Yes, item 7.01 is a public hearing to consider a grant application to the Minnesota Investment Fund MIF program.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to address the council? Hearing none, I'll close this public hearing. Okay, regular agenda, Ashley.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution supporting D Inc. expansion, Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development D, Minnesota Investment Fund Incentive MIF program.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
Got Don and
I'll second it.
Clayton. Discussion. Corky, you have a little brief on this?
Yes, this is a resolution supporting Dee's request in the amount of $242,000 for Minnesota Investment Fund assistance available based on final job growth projections to assist them with establishing additional jobs in the city of Crookston. Previously, you've heard Paul Swickla address you regarding the potential number of jobs, I believe near 30. This will assist him, and it's as I understand it, a reimbursement when the jobs are created and held for a period of time. Minnesota could provide additional funding to D. If you have any questions, Mr. Swickla's here, but you have reviewed it twice, and it's very straightforward.
Thank you. Anything to add, Ryan?
No, unless Paul you would have. No, I think nothing in particular other than what we talked about, you know, we're gonna add, excuse me, for that, The only thing I guess I would add is the other MIF that we had done prior to this one was for building, where D now is using this for material and equipment for their project that they're currently expanding on. And the number of jobs that they're creating is different level jobs. They have 14 foundry workers, an HR safety coordinator, a maintenance technician, foundry machining engineer, quality technician, and machining operators, for a total of 24 new jobs being created.
Yeah, 24 jobs over 2 years is the plan with this one, where the JCF was 30 jobs over 3 years. So we're hoping to be a little more aggressive because we've got a lot of work that they want to move here, like I mentioned in the past. So our hope is to use these funds to purchase equipment, and we're hoping the city will help us to administer that.
All right, thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Russell,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Ned Brunton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Dirty,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on.
Item 8.02 is a resolution for the tax forfeited property on Ingersoll Avenue.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there a second?
I'll second, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane. Discussion? Corky, once again, please.
If you'll recall, this is a motion that was tabled last time. It involves a piece of property at the end of Ingersoll and South Front Street. You asked that I contact the county assessor and auditor, which I did, and we discussed various options, and they're set out in my memo to you. Let me briefly tell you what they are. One, the city can purchase this property. The sum that we would have to pay is $10,700 for an outright purchase of the property. There presently exist special assessments in the amount of $20,000 on the property. If we purchase the property, we could have it surveyed, or we could rely upon a survey with Mr. Johnson has conducted relative to the little part that he wants or needs for his driveway. And we could potentially sell him that part. He would pay the specials relative to that little part, and the specials would remain on the property we own. The pros of doing that would be if in fact it ever became necessary to vacate the street for whatever happened in the industrial park, we would already own it, so we wouldn't be buying it again. Negatives are we have a piece of property that we paid $10,700 for. There's specials on it. We're not paying the specials, so we own this property. We would be required to mow it, take care of it, but we would have control. Okay, secondly, we could approve this resolution, and Mr. Johnson would purchase the property for $500 from the county. At that point, he could use his survey, purchase or have it surveyed out, pay the specials relative to that little portion, and have it then be his property without the remaining specials, because they would remain on the portion that he didn't use for his driveway. Okay? We could just let him purchase it outright, specials stay on, or we could remove the specials. And lastly, we could enter into negotiations with Mr. Johnson and say, I'll tell you what, if we can arrive at a reasonable sum agreeable to both, we will take that sum from you and remove the specials or not reassert them, and he would own the whole parcel of property. Those are some of the options that we have with respect to that particular property. When I spoke with the county, I found out some interesting information. When Mr. Johnson originally purchased the property, the specials came on the year after. He did not pull a quick one, if you will. They weren't on. He purchased it to try to get those specials eliminated. They actually came on after he had purchased the property initially. He saw the amount of the specials and let it go. Then another person tried to purchase it, had the specials, let it go. That puts us back where we are today. Questions?
Yes, why would the county sell it to him for 500 and we gotta pay 10 grand?
Yeah.
Because that's the policy that they have in place, with the thought that they would try to put parcels of property back on the tax rolls to owners of adjacent property. Now, it doesn't work in this case necessarily, but I did check out the price, so we would be aware of what we could get it for, and we could preempt anyone else. If we said, we want this property for this amount of money, it would be ours. We looked at whether we could get a conditional use for the property. There just is no conditional use under which this property would fall for the city. It's very similar to the old Otter Tail property where we had a conditional use, but it really didn't fit. And other questions?
Is there any intentions of putting a building on that property, or?
My understanding in talking to Mr. Johnson that there were no intentions to put a building on there.
He'd be buying just a.
He'd be buying a vacant
It'd be taxed-
property.
It'd be taxed on a vacant lot, pretty much.
Exactly. And his son lives immediately adjacent to him. So they're in that area. I'm not making any recommendation one way or the other. It's just a decision that we need to make. The county would like to know by the 11th, a couple days from now. We do need to make a declaration as non-conservation property, but
Well,
other than that.
The chances of us vacating that street in the future are probably, with some point or another,
At present, there's no immediate vacation in sight. Depending on how the industrial park works out, depending on Epitome Energy and their need for that to be vacated. It's possible, straightforward speech, at this point, it seems unlikely. I can't give you a percentage, but we would be in control if we purchased it, but we would then need to take care of it as well.
So then if we bought it, could we sell it in the future?
Absolutely. It's our property if we buy it. To
Oh, we
do
get
it-
10,000 for it?
I look at where it's at, I mean, it's still that, there is a possibility with that. We've looked at it in the pre-plans for Epitome on that area before, and whether it happens or not, I don't know, but in my vision, I'd just assume own it, meet with him, sell him his little chunk for his driveway, and maintain it for a little bit. We always have that option to resell it. It's not really big enough to do much with anyway, but in the future, I just feel if we'd have to buy that, it's gonna cost a lot more than 20 grand.
If we bought it and then we don't get charged the specials for it, then is that correct?
There are specials.
There are
Yes, so
specials.
we don't pay those to ourselves.
Right, okay, so then, but if we sold it then, will the specials come back on then?
They could be reassessed. They don't automatically come back on, but they could be reassessed. That, yes, they could be.
I think looking forward to that whole area, there's a lot of houses along there. I think it would be to our advantage to keep that and keep looking at purchasing some of these other homes and make that whole square as much as we can industrial park and not residential.
And we need to, obviously, we need to check with Ryan to see where we get the money, because we don't have this budgeted. And we'd have to do that for
We got our
sure.
municipal land and building,
Well,
we
yeah,
could take 10 grand out of there.
Building and grounds,
Yeah.
I don't know what the balance is.
And that's Ryan's bailiwick, and we'd have to talk to him about
And then
that.
I'd be in agreement then after we purchase it to sell Mr. Johnson what he needs for his driveway.
And that would also include his little specials to his.
Right, what would happen is that if we purchased it and sold it to him, he would agree to pay the specials relative to that little percentage to the whole property.
Is there a need to pass this tonight?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
should.
it does make sense to do it because the county would like to know by May 11th.
So you need a motion on it.
There is a motion and a second pending at this point.
So what do you need, you need a motion on which option we want to go with,
I
or do you need
think,
a
I think what
consensus?
we would do now is if there's a consensus among you, I would indicate to the county that we wish to purchase it, if that's what you agree to, and then we would have a resolution that comes forward next meeting to purchase it. We'd check with Ryan to make sure that we have the funds available to purchase it, and I would contact Mr. Johnson and say, city wishes to purchase it, but we need to look at a survey to carve out the part that you need for your driveway.
He's already surveyed it, he said?
I believe he has, yes, but I would confirm that with him.
Certified.
I believe he had it surveyed December 21st of last year.
Relatively fresh, huh?
According to that map that you had, he's gonna need more than just his driveway. Doesn't he need to come straight out to the street to kind of square off his lot?
Well, we would look at his survey that defines that parcel, yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, does that have any bearing on any strategic plan that we have? Does it fit into that? I mean, Robert, is there anything, where'd he go? Oh, you were over there. Is there anything in the future that you see that would make it, so that it would be advantageous for us, like Tom said, to keep it under our grips, or?
Councilman Melby, I honestly wish I could give you an intelligent answer to that. I have not looked at that close enough or with that thought in mind. I'm sorry. But I can absolutely do that before y'all's next consideration. Be happy to do that.
Sounds good.
Well, I just feel if Mr. Johnson does let's say purchase that whole property, we would probably, he'd buy his section like Corky said, and it would probably be tax forfeited again. He'd never pay the assessment. My feeling, and then it goes back to the state, and then we're at square one again.
So, I mean, if he's not gonna do that, why is he even pursuing this? Was there any expectations of us dropping those specials when he talked to you before?
No, he did not express any reliance on those being dropped. Perhaps, I can't speak for the county, he did not express that to me. I think more likely, and again, I'm speculating, he thought he would purchase the whole piece, carve out what he needed, and let the rest go back.
So would he be happy if we just bought the piece, carved out the bit and sold him that,
I believe he would.
you know?
Never know.
Yeah, I don't think he's looking necessarily to acquire the whole parcel. If he
Because
was,
like, he said, like Clayton said, if they're not planning on putting a storage unit or a garage or anything on it, I mean, like say, he's just picking it up to take care of it.
well, he did not express any intent to build any structure on it to me.
I'm just saying, I would hate to say that we buy it and then try to turn around and sell it to him to put a shed on, you know, is that, let him buy it for 500 instead of us for 10 grand.
Well, that
If
could,
that's what we're
and that
coming
could
down to.
happen if he in fact bought it for 500, carved out the section he needed, and let the rest go, we'd be back to the tax forfeited situation, and we could make a judgment at that point if we wished to.
So it wouldn't necessarily just have to be the little piece that he wanted for his driveway. It could be a bigger chunk to put a driveway and garage on there.
If
or
he bought
whatever.
it from the county, he could do that as he wished.
But then he would be obligated to pay the specials unless we forgive him.
Exactly.
And that was what the county initially had wanted or was asking, is that correct?
The county didn't much care, they just wanted off their tax
Their
forfeited rolls.
Okay.
The only concern too on that is if we do buy it or whatever, do you feel in your conversation with him that he will actually buy that piece? Otherwise, we're gonna have a piece of property with his driveway cutting through it. It's, you know, like I
I
said,
believe
it's
he
thinking-
would buy it for $500. That's the representation I got from the county and also from him.
Just the piece or the whole piece?
The whole piece. Why not buy the whole piece and get what you need and let it go back, whichever you don't use?
Is this an investment that, I've invested in property and stuff like that, that if he purchases property and Epitome comes in and wants that property and he holds out and it's just, use a figure of 30,000, he's made that much profit, is it the possibility that the city could do the same?
Well, me personally, I feel if Mr. Johnson is gonna buy the property, he pays the assessments. That's what I feel.
No, I agree too.
Yeah.
I don't think we can remove him if he buys it unless he splits it up, then he pays the assessment on
Yeah.
what he needs, like he was saying, and then.
It's just crazy to come back here again in 2 years with the same deal.
Right.
It makes no
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly.
I guess for me, I think we just buy it and then
None of it.
I
have
would
it for
say-
down the road, and then we don't have to worry about that if we have to vacate that area.
Right, and if we piece it out, we can get the assessment in the sale price.
Yeah, we'll get a percentage of the assessments
Right.
back from it.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, I mean, not the whole thing. but
Right.
At one time.
think we're ready to
But
vote.
I would certainly, like I say, hate to give it or sell it for 500 and in a year come back and say, we gotta buy it back. You look pretty silly, like you say, for now the bigger price.
Yes.
And that's why I gave you the various options.
And not
so-
getting, not getting anything. Of course, he would have had to have paid the specials if he's gonna take possession of the whole thing.
Correct.
Well, he wouldn't have to, he could
Well,
just.
we'd end up paying that back to him.
Yeah, I don't think we
Yeah.
should assume.
Gorky, is that fair market value for the land?
Oh, no.
No, this-
You know, I don't know the fair market value per se,
county
but
tried
it's
to
not
s-
$500.
The county had it
No,
up for
no, no,
auction.
the 10,000 that they would be selling it to us for.
You know, I don't have the real estate tax statement. It's certainly closer to the estimated market value. But I don't have that figure for you.
I don't think you'd buy much of a lot today for 10 grand either.
Well, I don't think it's really a desirable lot to really
No.
put housing. I mean, you'd be
Well,
looking
that-
at a commercial.
Pretty tough corner.
Exactly.
That's why I think looking forward, we should
I
just
think
keep it
everybody agrees
and
on
keep
that.
looking at the other properties to the west of it and see what we can pick up when they wanna sell them and, make that whole thing as industrial as much as we can.
I would gather that would by a year and a half from now, we'll have a good idea what we need to buy out there, and then if we,
I
doesn't
can-
look
I
like we
can-
can need it, we can put up for sale then, or
Yeah.
whatever.
I can tell you, my research was more thorough than I thought. The estimated market value is $10,700
Okay.
in 2017.
Your Honor,
All right,
I presume we're ready to vote. I'd like to call for the question.
Before we do that,
So Mayor and Council, I just wanted to let you guys know, we do have a motion by Councilmember Briggs and second by Councilmember Klatt that this is a resolution approving the tax forfeited non-conservation land by private sale, where the city approves the proposal private sale of the tax forfeited non-conservation land by the county to James and Marlis Johnson.
right, that's the motion, that's the resolution.
have
that
to-
we
Yeah,
approve
that's,
the
that,
sale.
but that was the motion
Rescind.
for that resolution.
So they'd have to rescind their motion.
Exactly.
Or
withdraw
vote
the
it
motion.
down, one of the two. Well,
So is Councilman Briggs and Platt that
willing to rescind.
you rescind?
Yeah, I'll rescind.
So now it's just,
Uh-huh.
So both rescinded?
Yes.
yes.
Or we could just vote it in.
So now it would be a recommendation, right?
Yes.
We would
exactly.
need a first, and a motion, and a second, and tell how you would like to lay it out. So how you would like motion to go.
So can I make a motion that we go with option one?
Yes.
I'll second that.
What is option
Well,
one?
let's,
So,
Can you reread that?
yep,
The
so
motion- Option one, go ahead, Ashley.
is purchasing the property and having the property surveyed and selling the appropriate surveyed property to the adjoining landowner for the use as a driveway.
thank you, Ashley. So I got a motion by Delane and a second by Don
Okay?
for option one, correct?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, further discussion?
And that was to just go by his survey then?
Well, we'll see if the survey is accurate to the part he needs.
Okay.
And it was done by Whitsett Smith and Nolting. I saw it today on December 21st of 2021.
Will that come back here then before we sell it?
Yes, oh, for sure. We'd have to take it to the planning commission, obviously.
Yep.
The disposition of land. And then we, if approved, we bring it back here for a resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
Further discussion? Have roll call, Ashley.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Van Bratton,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.03 is a resolution approving the support on behalf of libraries across Minnesota regarding the Capital Project Fund.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Christie. Do I have a second by Wayne? Thank you. Discussion. Corky, another little brief, please.
Yes, there is coming to the state approximately $180 million for broadband infrastructure. 70 million of that is earmarked for the broadband infrastructure. 110 remains undesignated. The libraries of the state of Minnesota are asking cities to send a letter of support to Governor Walz for distribution of the $110 million for refurbishing, reconstructing, repairing libraries in the state of Minnesota.
And this could be for like roofs and windows and.
No, I think it's just straight,
Infrastructure is a rough.
Infrastructure.
Okay.
Was
for
it,
the
did it say
library.
renovations?
I thought you said renovation,
Yeah.
refurbishing and all that stuff.
Building.
Yeah, I thought that's what
Infrastructure is
the,
part of your roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could be the roof,
Yeah.
could be all of those kind of things.
okay.
And you saw the the letter that I proposed
Yeah.
to go to the governor.
Yep.
Yep.
Further discussion.
so is there something in particular that our library is looking for or earmarking this money if they receive it? Where it
Well,
would
if
go?
we were to receive it, as you all know, we've had some roof leakage and some difficulty there. Perhaps we would be applying for and receiving monies with that particular item in mind.
Right.
Is there any consideration also just for the infrastructure of broadband?
That I'm not aware of. I don't know if that needs to be upgraded. But I suspect that our person in charge of the library will be sure to let us know.
I think that's a really important piece. I think now more so than ever, as people are becoming more remote working, a stronger broadband for a city makes it a lot more attractive to people coming to live here. So something to consider if those monies become available.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Bedbrotten,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
All right,
Aye.
Cavalier.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay,
Item
go ahead,
Item
Ashley.
8.04 is a resolution approving the master partnership contract with the Minnesota Department of Transportation.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll
So
make
move,
that
Your Honor.
motion, Your Honor.
Got Don? Clayton? Thank you. Discussion?
This is a proposed master agreement. We've had these in place with the state for a number of years. What it does is essentially allows our engineer to enter into contracts with the state, get bids, get prices, without having to come back to the council every single time with every single contract. They've been in place in the past, and if they've worked effectively.
But if anything's gonna ever really get done with all this, it's still gonna come back to us for.
You'll be well aware of what the proposal is, you bet.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Bedbrotten,
Aye.
Melby,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
and Cavalier.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on.
Item 8.05 is to discuss the final city administrator interview schedule.
Okay, this discussion only. I see we got the, kind of the interview schedule in the packet.
I can just add something. I spoke with Liza last week. She's just anxious to find out if we are having a final interview schedule, what it is, so she can again confirm with each of the candidates' availability. She did indicate to me that all of the candidates were available on the 26th and 7th and 27th. One candidate was only available on those dates, so they were pretty much limited to that. And as you know, one of the candidates has dropped out, got another job, so we're limited to 3 candidates. She spoke with one candidate recently who was anxious to come to Crookston and find out about Crookston if that is your desire. So it's just open for discussion.
Just curious on the 12 to 2:30, do we need that much space, 2.5 hours for a lunch?
Depends on how much we eat.
I'm just saying, you know.
No, we don't necessarily need that. I'm sure that could be cut back.
I mean, I'd rather see us do it at 2 or 1:30, hour and a half would be, you know, just keep the ball rolling. As Memorial Weekend, it is a Friday, it is.
Certainly.
They can
I
get
mean, we
back
could
to,
take an hour and move it back. That's why we have it here for discussion.
just throwing that out there.
I think that was from the original schedule when it was a Monday and Tuesday, not over the holiday.
So are we all comfortable with moving forward?
After reading through the latest paces and the background checks and things of that nature, I have a lot of hesitation with the candidates. I think that it's really important that we are very intentional about who we select for this position. And I think that an important piece is that I think that we've really kind of turned a corner when it comes to kind of developing a little bit more trust and transparency with our community and our constituents. And I have concerns about lack of experience for some. I have concerns about it just seems like there's pieces that would seem very decisive, and I don't know if we really need somebody in this position that is gonna bring this community together, this council together, and I just, from just reading the comments of those that have acted as references and just kind of reading through that, I really do question, is this the right way forward? And so I would love to hear, after everyone's kind of read through the last piece of this, if you still feel comfortable that this is the way we should go. I also don't want to waste our time and money if we don't truly feel that there isn't as a candidate that would really actually be good for our city. The other thing that I am really struggling with is I feel like my perception of how this whole process went through is I really felt like we were kind of being pushed into inviting the candidates regardless. And my understanding is that this free second round, if we choose to reject this group, that we would literally have to go back to the drawing board and pay. But I think that there is something to be said about spending the money and getting the right person versus putting us backwards into a space by not having the right person in this position. And I really feel that we're becoming a more well-functioning institution as a city. So
Your
just throwing
Honor,
that
at
out
this,
there.
at this time, you're asking discussion about the timetable. You're not asking for us to go and critique the candidates here. I think, Chris, you're getting ahead of it. We need to do our due diligence
Yeah,
to see them come in, and we've gotten this far.
Sure.
And I just think that it would be a pretty lousy way to do business if you don't follow through with it and make your decision with them in mind, with them in person. And I don't know if you're preconceived as to what you want or don't want, but that's not how this type of thing goes. I mean, it goes to the end. I
Well,
mean,
Wayne, I will tell you, I have consulted with Corky about this. This isn't just something that I've said, but I also think that we got our final background check. We had the opportunity to look at what's been said, what is on the record for all these individuals, and I still think that there's space. And so I would like to see if that's something that's to be considered. And Dale, tell me if I'm wrong in understanding what this conversation was supposed to be, because my understanding was just overall.
I think it needs to be out there. My thing is if we're, as a council, if we're comfortable bringing these three candidates in, one of them's got a fair amount of experience, but I would like to see, I wish we had a couple more candidates with that kind of experience. I guess, and it's on record, I said from the get-go that I was not really comfortable with any of the selections that David Drone and Associates brought forward.
I do,
Your
I
Honor,
do agree with
Your Honor,
Christie.
Yeah, I do agree with Christie. I have a lot of concerns about the four people that we're bringing in. And after, and we did get the information on each one of the candidates. And I have a big concern about a couple of them. And some of them don't have any experience. They don't have any experience in the council and so forth and so on. But I think we need to be very concerned about some of these reports that were, or the reports that were received from their backgrounds, and this is a very important time for us because we need to get a person in here that knows Crookston and can actually do the job, and I'm concerned about it, so.
Your Honor, I also agree with Christie. I personally think that we're rushing it, and I think we need a little more time to look at additional candidates. I don't feel that, as you stated earlier, I feel the same, that I've gone through their files and stuff like that, and I just feel that they're not qualified. That's my personal opinion with it, and I agree that we need to move on.
We certainly cannot settle, and I think that's the point she was trying to make. The one thing we can't do is settle. If it's gonna cost us money, it's gonna cost us money, but we do have to make sure we have the right person.
Right.
And
So-
I think that's what she was trying to get
Just so you
across.
understand, if these candidates are not selected, whether it be brought here and not selected, the responsibility of David Drone and Associates has ended, and any proceeding in the future, whether it be David Drone or another firm, will be costly. And you know that from the last one.
Yep.
Just so you understand that.
And I think it's really unfortunate. I also felt like my perception of like when these candidates were presented to us was very much like, well, you should do this, you should do this. And we didn't have the information at the time that this was them kind of wiping their hands of the situation, which I think also would have really, I think maybe have molded our opinions and our decisions at that point of going back to the drawing board versus accepting these people as candidates. And I feel that that should have maybe been explained at that point, and that was not shared with us from the firm, which is unfortunate, because I think that would have really made this decision a little bit different. But I also don't think that this is a position, as we've seen historically, that we can take lightly, because it truly does affect and mold how this city runs, and that we need to do that the best way that we can, making the best decision. And I don't know if, for me personally, that any of these candidates would inspire the trust and transparency and the things that we need, and the experience of a candidate. And so they all have their strengths and what have you. I just don't know if they're right for us. And I also don't think that it would be right for us to physically responsible to invite them knowing that information now and just going through the motions, and I don't think that's fair to them either. But if we're thinking that this isn't a good fit, why would we spend the money and time to do that and then spend it for a search firm? So just my thought on that, I just want to make sure we're doing what's best for the city. And it's not going to be the most popular opinion, unfortunately, because it is quite costly, but I think that it's the right thing to do.
I agree.
I just feel that, we went the first round trying to bring candidates to our community. Granted, COVID played a part in it. And the firm said, there wasn't really the quality of candidates that we were probably looking for, so they put a pause on it and brought it back like, I don't know, I can't remember how many months later or weeks. And I'm just wondering why there wasn't probably a pause put on this or extend the opening to see if more candidates are interested in the position.
Like I said, I know we definitely do not want to settle, but I'm just concerned about the labor market being what it is. The next time around, now that we're paying for it, the next time around is the quality of the candidates. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just,
That's a
I like to know why.
Yes,
I mean,
and?
So the question is, I mean, do we think that there's better I mean, obviously you might think that there might be better quality. I just don't know why we didn't get them this last time.
My concern on this is, and I asked her straight out why we had the first round, we had candidates from all over the country. This round, we had them within 300 miles.
Right.
That seems really odd to me. And I gotta agree with that. I mean, that was my first statement when we brought this forward.
Yeah, I remember that.
We need to move on. This is not gonna work.
Yeah.
And, whether you guys wanna do that or not, first of all, there's two of them that I would absolutely wouldn't even invite. There's one at the possibility, everybody knows where that is, but at the end of the day, it's like, do we want that? Do we want trauma? Do we need any headache in our community? I don't think so. I mean, I'd like to take my chances and move on, if that's what we're discussing here now, but, I mean, I just look at this, I think this is a total waste. I mean, that's why I wanna move up the timeframe and everything, because I don't wanna waste my time with this thing, knowing where I'm gonna go with it, because I know where I'm gonna go with it.
Steve, I have a question for you. Are you saying that the number one, that everybody that rated number one, this person number one, you think that he's qualified?
Well, he's highly qualified, I think, but it's his other
there's
part of
more.
his life that's not what I would want.
Right, yeah.
The thing
So,
is, though, you have to dig deep on that.
yeah, very questionable.
You know, there's two sides to the story.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, not
That's the
too
only
long
reason I
ago.
agreed to do what we're
Yeah.
doing. I didn't want the other two, I wanted maybe
Right.
one, and that's, we ended
Yeah.
up with three, but.
You know,
Sure.
and I said it earlier, is like, you know, the candidate that's got administration experience, who would have been nice to maybe have two more candidates in that had administration experience that were interviewing.
Yeah, I really feel like we got what we paid for, and by that I mean free. And I think it was very evident in how the search has gone, unfortunately.
So, I mean, is it possible then, I mean, so I'm just asking this question. It kind of sounds like there's one candidate that we probably would even consider, if that. I mean, can we just maybe have that one candidate come for a day and just, I mean,
I'd like to start over.
I would say this is the other thing. I think we were probably feeling a little bit more urgency with getting a new city administrator, because we need one. I think that Corky's done a fine job and will continue to do that, and has shared that with us already until we can find the right candidate. And I think that that allows us not to be in such a rush, or to have this urgency that I kind of felt was a little bit built up from our search firm as well, that like it's this or nothing, or this is the best you're gonna do. And I just truly don't believe that's the case, especially since we did have so many qualified candidates from all over the country. And I think that we just need to take the time to do it right. And I think that just entertaining the idea of bringing these other candidates, not just on the off chance, it's not a good use of our time when there's still so many things that we just don't know are the right fit. It's not about the experience. I think it's just the overall fit for our
I
city.
mean, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like the consensus here is agreeing with what you're saying. I guess I can get on board with that as well, to be honest with you.
Clayton?
Hate to put you on the spot, Corky, is there any timeline that you want to be done with this, or, I don't want to put you on the spot, but would you be willing to hang out until we can find somebody that we feel comfortable?
Well, within reason, but yes.
Well,
I would be willing to serve a reasonable amount of time until you all get a candidate that you are excited about, that you feel is a good fit for this community to serve in this position. Now, maybe that's not as specific as you want, but
good.
I am willing to do that, but I just want to make sure that you're all comfortable with that, and you are willing to go out and search again, whether it be with this firm or another, to get the candidate that best fits Crookston.
My concern on this is we really need to look at this firm, because they did not do us justice. Not that they owed it to us, but they just kind of did. And to me, it's like to go back there and say, here's another big chunk of money, go
Well,
take it.
if we're gonna do this, and if we feel this way about the candidates presented, then I just say we don't even consider this firm then,
Yeah.
because we're saying that they dropped the ball in the second round because it was a freebie.
Yeah.
I don't know, in my opinion, it
yeah,
does. It
feels
really looks
like
that way,
that.
yeah.
I would
It looks
agree.
that way, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we probably, look for a different firm and not open this up until probably, let's say, September, because I just don't think anybody is job shopping during the summer months.
What would be our next step,
Well, I
Your
mean,
Honor?
You better find a firm before September, though.
I
Oh, yeah.
understand, yes.
Agreed.
But I mean,
That certainly would be important.
No,
To find the firm, timetable certainly would be them helping us do that. But whatever your druthers, we would look for, the administrative staff would start looking for firms and pricing firms.
I mean, we
and
can
that
always
kind
find the firm, and they can start putting out feelers, and that gap can be wider, but
Yeah.
I feel we need to not start looking in September, but continue to look
Continue
after we
to
get the
look,
firm
yeah.
in place.
Well, and I don't see why it has to be a 2-week window, which I kind of felt like it was a very short window for this last round. So it would be nice to have it a little bit longer, because I think that just opportunities come up for individuals, and maybe people weren't searching at the time. So to have a longer window would be nice.
What would be the next step that we would take then to
Well, right now,
move forward?
we need the consensus, are we gonna basically
Move forward.
move forward?
I
Punt
agree.
on what do you plan on bringing to Crookston
Yep.
Fail the search.
and,
I would say we move on.
is that the consensus of council?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So then Corky will get in touch with Liza.
My Tuesday just got a little more interesting.
I mean, I look at the, it's not that
No,
we're shunning or anything, it's not what we wanted.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we didn't pay for it, but at the end of the day, there's too much variance between the first time we did it and the second time.
Yeah.
It's just something's not right there that they didn't put the effort in.
Exactly, and I thought David Drawn and Associates did a fantastic job the first search. And I don't know what happened, but,
Yeah, it seemed like they were rushed into
so
this.
then Corky, you would start looking, kind of do a little digging on who's out there for,
Absolutely. If that's your direction, I would start that tomorrow, whatever your direction is to me. I'm not all that familiar with search firms, but I bet we can find some.
I got another
Google.
question here, we were wondering.
Like
we
a
were gonna get
city's.
that 10 grand to buy that piece of land, where are we gonna take all this out of?
Well, that's,
This ain't gonna be cheap.
Ryan and I are gonna have conversations, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, we'll just have to, it could be part of the next budget year, potentially. It could be part of potentially reserves. I know that my personal philosophy is that reserves are to be used hopefully for one-time expenditures, not ongoing programming. This would be a one-time expenditure, but I would certainly be talking to our finance director, Ryan, about how we do that and how we move forward if that's what you want done.
Yeah.
So I'd like to just ask the council, or just kind of get a consensus of, so there's two ways of looking at who we want to get in here as an administrator. I've heard some of you say, we need to get somebody in here that's going to be here for a long time. Well, when we get those types of folks that are going to be here for a long time, that means they're probably wanting to settle down somewhere, and they're at the tail end of the fourth quarter of their career, per se. The other thing is if we want to get somebody that's aggressive and, highly educated, Crookston's not going to be their dream job. So we have to think that, okay, it's a 3 to 5 year gig for some of those types of folks that are going to be coming in here. So I mean, those types of folks, in my opinion, are going to be the higher qualified candidates. So
I mean, that's what Liz has said, that the average lifespan of administrator is 5 years. I mean,
if we would've gotten 5 years out of Amy, I would've been happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a very realistic approach. Crookston's a great place to be, but I think we have to be realistic. If we get an aggressive, competent city administrator for this community, it will only be good knowing or expecting that that is not a lifelong appointment. I think we're well advised in that.
Yeah.
Just recognize that. And if they choose to stay longer, great. But
think
building a resume in this community will only benefit us.
I think at this point, I can say that, this council at this point in time is moving in the right direction. And I feel that we need to have someone that fits in with the council as well. I can say at this point, I couldn't be any happier with the council that we have, I'm not saying anything bad about the others, but I think we're moving in the right direction, and we need to have someone that will push us in the right direction.
We're
Corky,
all moving in the same direction.
in your opinion, I mean, and Ryan, I mean, as far as financial wise, I mean, and she had said raising the bar for income isn't really gonna make a difference. I just find that hard to believe.
Yep.
If you up the ante a little bit, you're gonna get a little more look at that, I think, too, and whether we can afford it or not, but I think that's something we need to look at before we start casting stuff out
And
there.
that goes a long ways too, Steve, of keeping people here just a touch longer. If they're well worth it and they are doing the job that we need them to do and they're going above and beyond, that can always be raised, and that's gonna keep somebody here a little longer than maybe possibly that 5 years if they really like our community. So, I mean, that's stuff we need to look at in the future too, so.
And we are entering the budget processing cycle now. In fact, Ryan and I just spoke today about that very budgeting process, how we start, when we start. We'll be starting a bit earlier than we did last year, obviously. And it's certainly worthwhile looking at the budget and how paying a city administrator impacts not only the administration, but the council members, the community, how people get involved with the government, how they get involved in the community. So that certainly will be thought out by all of the department heads, and especially Ryan with the budgeting process, and you folks. I mean, if your directive is, maybe we offer more money, doesn't always guarantee the best, but it may attract some people that we have not attracted in the past into this community.
I would also dare say that having the good city administrator also is a highly regarded tool for retaining good employees, good department heads. And I think that just kind of just trickles down into everything that we do. And so just something to consider as we go forward.
Okay. I guess Corky's got kind of marching orders from council, all in agreement.
Not kind of marching orders. I got them.
Your last 5 years, Corey?
So we good?
Yep.
All right. Okay, reports, Corky. Not to put you on the spot again,
Not to
but
put me on the spot, but here, first of all, this week, we spent a good bit of time, or the last 2 weeks, I did with Superintendent Olson regarding childcare at Washington. The facility is licensed, the administrator is ready to go, they simply cannot find certified childcare attendants. It's been very difficult for her. She'd wanted to open for a significant period of time. We in fact spoke with her, Superintendent Olson and I did, and we've brainstormed some ideas about how to get certified child care attendants. There is scholarship money, there are awards and grants available. It takes approximately 2 to 6 months to get the certification necessary, and Superintendent Olson is working with the school to try to see if there are students who may be interested in that. So we're pursuing that. Some of you have expressed interest and concern about the industrial park and 3 entities out in that park who are wishing to expand. Today I can let you know that Greg Hefta and I, as well as I believe Brandon Carlson's been in on this a bit, and Robert Barnes, to resolve the issue that affects them all. There's a small piece of land owned by Cheetah that everyone is interested in either acquiring or building onto, and we spent, I would say, 2.5 hours with them. I think we have a framework for them all to agree on how they can each get their objectives accomplished with a little help from the city. I think that will be done. So if you hear from them or about them, I would characterize this as very optimistic, and they all seem to be agreeable to the framework. But as we all know, the devil is always in the details. Now, unfortunately, I have a letter to read to you addressed to me as the interim city administrator, Mr. Reynolds. I hereby resign my dual mandate as Director of Housing and Community Development for the City of Crookston and Executive Director of the Crookston Housing and Economic Development Authority effective 13 May 2022. Working with you, Amy Finch, and the team of professional department heads leading the City of Crookston has been an absolute honor and pleasure. This team shares common values of professionalism, respect, vision, support, cooperation, and loyalty. Each one of you is a winner and a valued friend. If there is a service I can offer personally or professionally, please do not hesitate to contact me. I remain forever a supporter of the team and the City of Crookston. With best and warmest regards, Robert E. Barnes, Jr.
that it?
There couldn't be more.
Okay, thank you, Corky. Start with Darren tonight.
Just a couple quick updates. So on the hiring front, maybe many of you had heard, but I'm not sure. Heath Hansen is a deputy with Polk County Sheriff's Office. He's worked for the Sheriff's Office for about 28 years. He accepted a position as patrol sergeant with the Crookston Police Department. So we're very excited about that, to be able to bring Heath on with the experience and training that he brings to the table. He's actually starting with us on May 16th. So not only is he filling a vacant position, but he's also filling that patrol sergeant vacancy, which has been open for probably about the last year. His training period is going to be really short, probably like 1 week, just like we call it administrative week. Basically, the programs and computer systems that we use between the Sheriff's Office and the Crookston Police Department, the only difference is color of uniform, honestly. So it's going to be a really seamless transition. Really looking forward to that. Apparently it's the night of resignations. Unfortunately, Shane Mendez, who's been with the Crookston Police Department for about the last 15 years, currently resigned. His last day is May 15th. For the last several years, Shane's been working on continuing his education and positioning himself for a career outside of law enforcement. And he recently accepted a position with the UND Aerospace Division. So we unfortunate to see him leave, but we wish him well in his future endeavors. Recently offered one of our patrol positions to a candidate out of Thief River Falls that we were really excited about. However, they declined the offer. After discussing it with his wife, they have a young family baby on the way. They decided they didn't want to relocate to Crookston, so thought we had all of our positions filled until last Friday. So with him rescinding that offer and Shane putting in his resignation, we do now again have 2 open vacancies. So I will be posting that as soon as tomorrow, trying to recruit for those 2 officers. On the bright side of that, Don Rascott, our SORO, School Resource Officer, with school coming to an end in May, he'll be able to fill one of the patrol vacancies while we're training new officers. And I would say by the end of summer, close to August, if not sooner, depending on some of the hire dates, we'll be in pretty good shape by the time Don has to go back into school. So again, we're grateful on the timing, as Don will be able to provide some needed relief to our very overworked patrol staff. So the Drug Task Force position, with Nathan Nelson being promoted to Deputy Chief, his prior position as Drug Task Force Officer was vacant. We did an application process for that. We had a strong internal candidate pool. As of today, I appointed Michael Marino, officer with the Crookston Police Department, as the next Drug Task Force Officer. Mike has about 3 years law enforcement experience, the last 1.5 years with the Crookston Police Department. Super excited about that. He's going to be a really good fit in that position. Unfortunately, he won't be able to fulfill those duties until probably August, again, or end of summer, when we're full staffed on our patrol side. So he will stay in the patrol position until we get kind of set up with some of our hiring. Last Saturday, May 7th, UMC had their commencement ceremony. Officer Don Rascott helped a branch of the U.S. Secret Service with a security detail. Tom Vilsack, the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, was on campus and presented the commencement speech. So it was just a couple hour detail, was successful and completed without incident. Starting next Sunday, May 15th through next Saturday, May 21st is National Police Week. Next Tuesday, May 17th, starting at 2 p.m., as we have for the last several years, multiple officers, including myself, will be attending and participating in the Northern Valley Law Enforcement Memorial Ceremony in Grand Forks. Ceremony takes place in the green space in front of City Hall, and will represent and pay tribute to federal, Canadian, Minnesotan, North Dakotan law enforcement officers who have died in the line of duty. We We have 2 officers participating in the ceremony. We'll have a squad car on display. 1 officer will be serving as an honor guard. Another officer will be placing and guarding a ceremonial wreath. It's a very well-planned and professionally executed event. It's open to the public. I'd encourage anybody who's interested to attend. Outside of that, been a busy week. I think we responded to about 300 calls for service since I last spoke with you guys, or within the last week and a half. So, been busy, but that's all I have, unless there's any questions or anything.
Thank you, Darren.
All right, thank you.
Tim?
Thank you, Your Honor. Looks like we're going to be going for round 3 on the flood fight. Got some news that we didn't really want to see. We're with the recent rains and how saturated the grounds are again. They are predicted to go, just got the new numbers, up to 22 feet. And that's going to be late tomorrow night. So we'll be having a little bit of a discussion with during our normal department heads meeting tomorrow, talking with the staff to see what we're going to do on this round, and so we'll keep you posted on that. With the upcoming rains that they're talking on Wednesday, Thursday, I'm sure those numbers might change again, so we'll keep you posted. We'll do everything we can to protect the city again like we did last time and make sure everything is under control. I don't know, but I think I probably didn't get an opportunity to thank all the council for everything that they did during this, the last 2 events, and we'll see how you guys all do on this coming one, but no, I'm just kidding. You guys have all been very, very good on all kinds of aspects of the whole flood fight, whether it's been sandbagging, manning your ward command posts, helping out at the EOC, coming down and visiting with us, and just whatever, asking what we need, walking levies and all that kind of stuff, every aspect of the whole fight. It's been great to have you as part of the team to say, and very reliable to have you around, and good people to work with. So I just want to thank you for everything, and I'm sure we'll be working close together in the upcoming week here maybe also. And I do want to give a little shout out to Councilman Cavalier. He took time, and maybe some of the other ones have, but I understand that he'd been giving out thank you cards to the people that he has been able to reach. I thought that was a very nice personal touch. He was giving out some thank you cards to some of the people that have been helping him out in his ward, and I just thought to take that time to do that. I thought that was very, very nice. So. The department heads have been working really hard ever since this event. Just because the water's down doesn't mean the event is over. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of initial damage assessment paperwork we got to complete, and that all has to do with when we are declaring our state of emergency to get funds back, whether it's through the state or through the federal government. We got to start with the state, and then if our declaration is our damages is enough, then it goes to FEMA. We are working very closely with the Polk County emergency manager. He's been helping us out. We brought him into a meeting. Ryan's going to be in the middle of all this. He's going to have a lot of paperwork thrown across his desk and submitting a bunch of stuff, but the guys out in the field, just about every department's been affected by this, and they've been actively getting quotes and doing their damage assessments, how much stuff is costing each department and getting this turned in. So just because the water's on its way down, well, it's on its way back up, I should say. But anyhow, there's a lot of work to do after this, and trying to recoup some of our funds is in our sights right now. Part of that, getting back to normal, we did get everything back into our fire station, which is very nice to have all of our equipment under one roof, and then also using the north station, having our stuff spread out when our fire station was, in peril. That is not a good feeling, so it does really feel good to get stuff back. Ward command posts are all closed and cleaned up for now. And hopefully, we'll see what happens. We are having a couple issues with our sirens still. We've talked with Chad. We are getting, we do have a plan to get them fixed, maybe as soon as tomorrow. We're still waiting for a contractor out of Michigan to come to fix some of our bearings. That's the only ones that can do it. They're a service contractor for our sirens. If we can get them to sound, we're gonna get them turned towards the direction that they're gonna do the most good. As soon as we can get our aerial truck up there, we're still thinking it's gonna be maybe about a month out before they're gonna be able to get here to get those bearings replaced on them. But we're gonna do everything we can to make sure we get the most bang for our buck on those until they're fixed. So, any questions for me?
How long are they thinking that the 22 feet is gonna stay there before it starts going down? Did they give you any kind of inclination, or?
Right now, they're looking like it's gonna go up to 22 and maybe head down within a 24-hour period. It's gonna climb really fast and it's gonna drop really fast, but unfortunately, with our rain forecast, I mean, I've heard areas of inches coming on Wednesday, Thursday again, and it's just gonna turn it right back around. I don't even know if it's gonna have enough time to drop. I went to Red Lake Falls to see my mother-in-law on Mother's Day during the rainstorm, and those fields out that way, I mean, I would have to believe every raindrop that's landing right now is hitting our river, because they were just absolutely lakes on Sunday afternoon when I went by.
Well, right now, before I came here, it sounded like some of the worst weather might go south. So hopefully
I
that's what
hope you're
happens.
right, Joe. I could
Yeah.
really use a break.
Hopefully that's right too, but you know.
Yeah, no, I hope you're
meteorologists
right.
are, 50-50, but.
Yeah, no, I really hope you're right.
With it going up, I know people are getting sandbags off the dikes. Should they maybe stop doing that for now?
We're gonna talk a little bit about that tomorrow, and maybe we'll get something out just to maybe, we'll talk to our media outlets and maybe they could put something out there. We lost some sandbags over the weekend, but I think it kind of stopped. I think the people got the bags that they want. I think the rest will probably be left there, but we'll talk with our media outlets. We did have a conversation about this and maybe see if they can get something out just to say, let's just leave them in place for right now. And yes, thank you, Tom.
Tim, if the EOC, the ward EOC is open again, at what stage would that be at?
If we get up to the 23-foot mark, we'll probably have to put people on the levees again, due to the fact that, and I've probably talked about this and so many times that they're so saturated that when right now is their most vulnerable time, when they're so heavy with water and the dirt is everything. They're probably the wettest I've ever seen those. Usually when we have a high water event, they're still frozen. But we've had so much rain and some warm weather in there, and some of these people that have been around for years and years, they know that once those things thaw out, get heavy with moisture, that's when they're the most vulnerable. So.
Speaking of that, Tim, I know they're certified or whatever, but in a situation like we've had here where it's been up and down 3 times, which is now saturated, whatever, do they do a analysis on that to say, you know what, we gotta look at all the dike systems again and recertify them, or just to make sure that
the problem that we couldn't, and you're right, I wish that we could just get everything certified. We probably have 75% of our, I'm just throwing a number out, but I'd have to say 75-80% of our, probably around 80% of our dikes are certified. To get them certified, they have to meet a certain core sample and have enough room for the slope and everything. So the areas that aren't certified did not pass that. Like we always talk about Riverside, that's been a tough area. When they went over to Riverside and did core samples and they figured how much dirt and everything it would take to certify that, they would have pushed that right into the river. And I believe that's the same issue with over across from the old American Legion. There wasn't enough room to get the slope, and the stabilization of the ground was not enough. So they put up what they thought they could, and they still called them uncertified. And I also believe that was also the issue over by the fire hall with South Main there. I don't think they had enough room, because you can see how massive those dike systems are when they pulled out all the houses in the Woods Edition and Sampson's Edition. I mean, they're just massive, because they need the slopes on both sides and not just a one-sided slope. So those are gonna be conversations you folks are gonna have in the future on the funding to maybe beef up your uncertified levee system, so we don't have to do this every time we get some rain. So those conversations are gonna have to be in the near future, and we're gonna have to do some, core sampling or what have you, and decide what we can do. And, whenever you go with
Good
a
investment.
certified. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is absolutely a good investment, and even if you could add a couple feet and not get all the way up to the 31, I mean, it's gonna protect you at 90% of our events.
I know we've talked about the clay that's there across from the fire hall and different spots like that, and even though it'd be uncertified, but instead of pulling that all out, I know it has to do with government funding and some other issues, but I know you guys are looking into that. I'd just let everybody here know I visited with you with it and stuff, that we could just, maybe make that a permanent, get some grass growing on it, different stuff like that. So that's one spot maybe, we wouldn't have to do like every single year type stuff. So, I mean, let us know what you hear on that and what's going on with that, so.
Yeah, absolutely, and part of this funding that we're looking for is that they'll pay us to put the stuff on and take it off. I don't think they'll pay us to put it on and leave it on. I mean, that's what we're looking into right now. And not only that, but, what they did was for protection on, just to get it up as fast as they can. There's still a lot of work. I mean, it still has to be sculpted. We probably only have half the clay that would be required to get it, rolled over on the wet side and, for mowing purposes and maintenance purposes. I mean, there's a lot of work. I mean, they got up what they needed just to protect us, and we would still have to haul a lot of dirt in, or clay, I should say, and then the packing. And you're right, Joe, we've had this conversation. I've had the conversation with a couple other of you folks that it would sure be nice just to leave this stuff in. But
At least the groundwork is started there, and if some of it could be saved, that would be, great. I know there's a lot of work that goes into that, like you said, but I would imagine we have some money set aside in flood fighting fund of some sort. So, I mean, if was not getting paid for something, maybe we could figure something out, but I just think it's silly to go through that type of work and see that type of work being done, and then they just keep paying for putting and taking and not actually fixing the problem. Where you already have I don't want to say it's half, probably not half, but it looks like half to everybody there that they could work with and start the process. I mean, I think it'd be silly to just remove it and next year something happens again and we put it back. It's just one of those things, but.
yeah, you're absolutely right.
It doesn't have to be the situation that we don't have to do every spot, but the ones that were of concern this year, trying to.
The library is another one, they put clay down there, and we sat in sandbag for I don't know how many hours, and then they finally got there with the clay and put it on top of it. I mean, that's not a very large area as far as length or anything. I mean, just certain ones like that would take some of that hard work and things you had to worry about away at some point in time. I just think it's something, like we've discussed, that really needs to be looked into.
Yep, you're 100% right, and even if we can knock out some small areas at a time and put it on a 5-year improvement plan or whatever, 3 years, what have you, and when we declare, we're gonna end up getting a rep up here from probably the state. We'll probably get one up here from FEMA and what have you. I mean, I'm hoping, I'm not saying they're gonna come. I don't know how far this will go. But that's when we talk about our mitigation opinions and say, what can we do so we don't have to keep doing this? We don't want to have to be getting monies all the time over and over to do the same thing, put it on, take it off. And so maybe a long-term mitigation plan is going to be at their best interest in the long run, kind of like what they did in 80% of our cities so far. So.
And maybe spots we're talking, maybe they won't be certified, but that's okay. At this point, it's saving us time and money and effort and in those dire times, because it came up so fast this year that it was a darn rush.
Yes.
But Joe, there's a lot to that, because you have to go through the Corps of Engineers. They gave us a plan. If they don't get certified, you're still back to, can you build there or not, and will they insure you and not, and then they go to the cost to benefit ratio of doing anything. So I mean,
No, I understand.
it's
There's a
nothing
lot-
that's gonna
there's a lot
happen
there.
between now and September that you can leave them up and that they're gonna let you do that.
Right, no, I
That's
I
gonna-
totally agree with you, but I mean, I'm just saying, a thought process.
Right, 'cause
Take
it's-
place of what we have, you know, and I know they are, so I mean, I just.
You know, and
wanted
that's kind of why you had on South Ash there, where it went across the road, and that's how that was formed, same with Summit. They said, okay, you know, your cost to, benefit is, here's what you guys are gonna do. And that's why those things were set up that way, and like I said, they got them put in a pretty good hurry, but, you know, just like the floodgates over in Grand Forks when they put those up, I mean, that's, you know, they got it made so they can put them up, take them down, whatever. We get paid to put ours in and take them out, so there's a lot to it. I don't
Well, I
think that he
understand.
can wave
No.
his hand and just let you go, but yeah, it would be nice, there's no doubt.
Right, it'd be nice, or at least something to check into, or see what costs are, 5-year plan, you know, figure out something for down the road, even if it's not this time. You can see my thought process, that it's kinda silly to have them keep paying to put it down, take it out, and nothing's been fixed, I mean, so it's.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only other comment I got, Tim, is, not to step on Don's toes here in his ward, but I had a lot of people call that did work, the EOC in their Ward 4 at the present location. We need to look at a alternative location, because they're not gonna come back, I mean.
Yeah, no, we've already moved it on the second go-around, and then we've had two options, of place where it's gonna be. So, yep, we are working on that.
Got
Yep,
out of the
absolutely.
dungeon, okay.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we're trying to make it a little bit more convenient and. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you
Thanks,
very
Tim.
much.
Brian, anything tonight?
I guess first of all, I'd like to thank all the department heads, you know, the last couple of times of these weekends working and stuff. They are a good group of people to work with and admire them greatly. And as Corky talked about, we did discuss the budgets today, but just wanted to read a couple of things to you guys. You know, the 2002 US Census for inflation rates is out, and the annual inflation rate for the United States is 8.5% for the last 12 months. That ended on March 22nd. The prime rate, effective as of May 9th, 2022, is now 4%. And as of March 17th, it was 3.5%. So we see an increase. And I think that we have all seen the increases, you know, for our home budgets as far as what we're paying on utilities, groceries, when we go to the gas stations. So I think it's something that department heads, council people, need to start thinking as we approach this year's budget. Because if we were not to touch our budgets at all, make any changes, we're gonna be well over that 8%. So that's why I think we need to start these conversations now and start working with the different departments and what that they have to see, you know, how can we develop a budget that's gonna meet the city's needs, the department heads' needs for the things that they want and require. So Corky and I will, in the next couple of weeks, start meeting and slowly start going forward with that. We've had Brady Martz came a couple weeks ago. They spent a week here. We had 5 auditors here. Been working with the different auditors with different questions that they have. I'm hoping now that this week we'll finish up most of the questions that they have so we can move forward with that. Also completed the treasury report for the ARPA funds that we had and what we had spent the money on, what you guys had agreed upon. And just kind of wrapping up that stuff. I know the flood stuff, there's going to be a lot of paperwork coming with that, but I've already contacted some of my resources and going to get some help with that too. So, any questions?
Thanks, Ryan.
Chad, anything?
Thank you, Your Honor. As Tim mentioned, the IT department's going to be helping out the fire department a bit, putting some of my ham radio skills to use and doing some antenna redesign for the sirens. We'll be looking at that tomorrow. We met as a web design committee, and we had the concept design review of the new website. Things are really coming along with that. We are on track, in everyone's opinion, for being live with that at the end of July. So we're doing content review across departments at this time. And then finally, we've been having conversations with different vendors, managed service partners in the redesign of our network and our server infrastructure as part of the ARPA funds that we'll be putting, unrestricted funds that we'll be putting to good use in that area. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thanks, Chad. Brandon?
So last meeting I was a little tired, so there's a few people that were critical in helping me through the temporary clay dike building, and one of them was Widseth with Blake Carlson, my dad. We rode around together for the first day, figuring out a plan of action, and he's got a lot of experience with Crookston's water issues, and I learned a lot, so it was fun riding around with him for the day. As fun as it can be fighting high water anyways. Bertles, Gravel, Lyle Wilkins, RJ Zavrels, we called him, and, Zavrels was in Crookston within an hour and a half. So it's nice to have people like that that'll come at the drop of a hat. Jody with Polk County is amazing. He's the know-all resource for anything you need. So, Steve, I think part of what you asked, SEH is the firm that does our levee inspections. I had a meeting with them today, and they'll be coming to do a inspection of the levees after the water finally goes down here. With the increased pumping on our lift stations, our force main from our main lift station 4 has a leak in it. We tried to fix it with our city staff the other day, but our backup pump seized up on us halfway through the process, and I threw the white flag, and Zavrels will be coming to fix that when the pumping, our normal pumping on our lift stations is 500,000 to 600,000 gallons a day. We've been at 4 million for 3 weeks. So it's like even after the rain today, our lift station 3 and 2 are struggling to just barely keep up, but they are at the moment. So cleanup week had to be postponed again. We made it till noon, and the county called and said that the landfill was too wet and they couldn't get trucks up and down the piles anymore. So we were just dumping our brush in random in a different pile because we can't get to our burn site right now because you have to go through the passes that they cut through to make it easier for ice jams. So I didn't want to set myself to a date yet, so when we can, we'll obviously do cleanup week as quick as we can here, but it doesn't sound like the landfill has much hopes for this week, so hopefully next week. We met with the corridor SRF consultant. We've scheduled the open house for Tuesday, May 24th from 5:30 to 7. So that's what we're shooting for right now, and we will get some flyers out, and MnDOT will be doing some media releases, and we'll do some mailings for that, and I believe they will have a Skype option if you are out of town. So.
What was the time on that again?
The time?
Yeah.
5:30 to 7.
5:30 to 7. 5:30.
Can you shoot out an email to everybody?
Yep, I can do that.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's all I got for now. If you got any questions.
Thanks, Brandon. Greg, anything?
Just real quick, Greg Efta, building official, and thank you, council. I have had some complaints about sump pumps and being discharged onto certain lawns and/or creating overflow conditions on neighboring properties. So we're gonna be looking into that for some kind of remedy if we can find one. We're gonna I'll discuss it with the department heads if there's any solutions we can find. So that's just on the initial portion of looking for a solution. We do have that planning committee meeting this Thursday, the 12th, 7 o'clock, Council City Chambers, regarding that parcel that Corky had discussed regarding the divvying it up, or at least making sense for each adjoining property. We need to do a land use determination as part of that process. And there's also the Cheetah home on 1603 Hoven Lane that's going to be in the Planning Commission on Thursday night as well, just to, it hadn't been done. We're just making sure that everything's covered and done in place. So, and that's about it for the Planning Commission as of this month. Any questions?
Do we ever send out I don't know how you stated, but to be reasonable with your neighbors about discharging, I mean, right, like I said, I've got a couple, probably 4 houses that they're feuding like crazy over the deal, and if they put it to their property line, you know, they're just flooding the other guy out where, I don't, like I said, whatever you guys work on to remedy to that, but, I mean, just a press release, the city would, you know, really appreciate you to be courteous of your neighbor where your discharged water goes for now. And
I don't disagree with that. I think,
to be honest, address something.
To be honest, I have an issue right now with my home I got flooded during the flood with a sump pump that failed, and my discharge right now is actually draining onto the neighbor's property, and I have to get an extension on my own drain tiles, or excuse me, my sump pump itself. So I'm with you. I want to try to get it to the street as quick as I can, but that creates problems for Brandon as well.
Right, no, I get that, but.
So
It's just one of those things that I know everybody's got water and that's an issue, but at the end of the day, you know, if you pull it back 20 feet from property line instead of up to your property line.
I agree with that.
Or whatever, you know, just to be somewhat courteous of, you know, everybody needs to get rid of water, I understand that. The city can't take much more water. But at the end of the day, you know, to be somewhat courteous would be nice. I mean,
I think we could look into a city message on Facebook or something to that effect, absolutely. I think that's just common courtesy. Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Corky, you got something from Park and Rec
Yeah.
since Jake ain't here?
Jake is not here, but he asked me to convey to you, first of all, we have over 300 individuals registered for our programming in the summer, which is a nice increase. The CSC is now done with ice, and they have been, or they will be taking it out soon. The pool is operating efficiently and effectively. We hope that that continues, and that's all he had for us tonight.
Thank you, Corky. Robert?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. You've already heard about 2 things, the dividing up of the snake property down in the industrial park that we worked on today, got that in the butcher shop and straightened out, and about 1603 Hoven Lane, that's going to be an ongoing adventure to make sure we have that process correct. I'm still working with APG Apartments, just waiting on them to get some information back to us. It'll be back on your agenda fairly soon, and we'll keep going through that process. But as far as reports, that's about the end of mine. Is there anything else I can tell you?
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with Tom tonight, anything?
Just Congratulations to Shane on his new position. I mean, he's been a very good officer for us, and welcome to Heath. He'll be a great one too. And whatever you're gonna do, Robert, good luck.
Well, thank you.
Nothing to report, Your Honor.
Thanks, Delane. How do you know I was gonna call on you next?
Chance.
Joe?
Nothing to report, Your Honor.
Don?
I just want to thank the departments, city departments for all the help for Ward 4. We really had we had over 60 people walking the dikes, and that really helped keep me awake at night, but we had a good time. I mean, it's we find out what we're made of, I guess, when we get into these kind of situations, and I think, Tim, I'd like to give you a loud shout out because, yeah, you took this really very coolly and never got anxious too much. And so I really appreciate you for helping us out down in the ward addition. And then I think we do have two people now that want to be captains of the ward. So we're going to talk to you about that afterward. And thank everyone else that helped. Steve, thanks for doing the work at the EOC. Appreciate that. And Clayton. And Joe. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thanks, Don.
And
Clayton?
And Courtney.
Robert, best of luck. Hate to see you go, but best of luck on your future endeavors. And Darren, keep up the good work and keeping the department there together. Nothing else, Your Honor.
Thank you. Steve?
I just want to make sure that we're budgeting session coming up here, that we, I know Amy had started on this about looking at different structures of pay-wise and this and that, and make sure we start implementing that. I think the next 5-10 years, you know, we have to go up, we all know that. But I think we need to start looking at it now and start slowly developing a plan. I don't think we have a plan, I think we need a plan. So in this budgeting season, I think would be a good time to start that and say, you know what, let's figure out what we gotta do to keep police officers and staff members. You know, I know that we've always been down in income. You know, we start out great, but then we got a low end, and you know, congratulations for Heath, bringing him on, a guy with 20+ years of experience, minimal training, gonna be the cheapest investment we've ever had. Find 4 more of them, that'd be great. But, I mean, and it's something we need to look at as a council here for future generations, because it starts now, because we're not gonna be able to do it overnight, it's gonna be a long-term deal, but I think we need to, look at that. And I gotta say, I had the honor of working with Jody during this flood thing, and what an asset he is. I mean, the wealth of knowledge, I mean, it's like, you make a call, he'd tell you who to call, and it was amazing, and we're lucky to have somebody like that here, working with Tim and, you know, the rest of the staff here, but I just think that was, you know, such a smooth operation. I can't say enough about how that went down there, and kudos to all you guys for doing that. That's all
One
I
more
got.
thing, Your Honor. Just like to thank Pat Kelly for coming to Crookston to help out also. So he was an asset, and I just wanted to thank him for keeping Crookston on his mind. Okay.
Thank you.
Nothing to add, Ryan?
Well, I was just gonna say that we did reserve 75,000 for that wage study.
The wage study.
You guys have that set aside for.
Perfect.
Perfect, thank you. Christie?
I would like to thank everyone as well for all the hard work they've done with the high water events. And I'd like to special shout out to Brian Hollis, who kind of was the glue to Ward 1's EOC. And so he was there on and off when he wasn't at work or sleeping for a couple hours, and truly was amazing to have him kind of hold that together and make sure that all of our spots for dike walking and for covering the desk in Ward 1. So I really appreciate him and all his hard work, as well as everybody else who volunteered in our ward to do those things. Especially those late night shifts were pretty rough, so very appreciative of everyone who took part in that. The other thing I wanted to share is that I think it's a Crookston Community Fund, has provided or set up grant funding for those who have suffered some type of loss or damage to their homes. And so there is a disaster relief grant application, which people can apply for up to $5,000. And I believe, if I'm not incorrect, Chad, that the link to that grant application is on the city website as well?
If it is not, I will verify.
Great. I think otherwise you can go to the Crookston Area Community Fund, which I believe is part of the Northwest Foundation, and apply for it there. I also have it up on the Ward 1 Facebook page too, for those who are interested in applying for funding for that. So thank you for the group that put that together. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Christie. Wayne?
Still interested in when we're gonna have that strategic planning meeting? You know, it gets shifted around, and well, now with what we did tonight with city administrator, I think maybe it's time to have that so that we can get together and know which direction we're going, and we can sit down and talk about all of this. At the same time, I mean, it's great, everybody thanked all the supervisory guys or the, administrative part of it, but I'd like to thank all the guys and sandbaggers and walkers that came from all over the area again. And we mentioned it last time that, there were so many, and maybe if we can find some way to do it, to hold an appreciation feed or a get-together of some kind. It was mentioned, we used to have these all the time before we got the dikes, because we were sandbagging every year. And, but this was quite a big effort, and it would be nice if we could show some appreciation that way, if possible. If not, that's it. Hopefully the sun will shine pretty soon here.
Okay, thanks, Wayne.
I got one more thing.
Sure.
I've worked with Robert both as interim city administrator and as city attorney. And I want to thank you, Robert, for all that you've done. I think we were lucky to have him here so short a period of time, but he's an economic developer, and that's what we need. Thank you.
Got a couple things here. First, I want to say I was invited. It was an honor and a privilege to be out at UMC to have breakfast with Chancellor Mary and Secretary of Agriculture Thomas Vilsack. He's a very knowledgeable man. I was just amazed. Also, I had the honor of attending UMC graduation. That's always, I'm never looking forward to going to it, but once I'm there, I'm glad I'm there. It's great. It's just amazing with all these young students. I kind of missed the bulk of the flood fight. Was there Saturday, but I want to just say a big thanks to our department heads and a big thanks to the community and surrounding communities that came to our town and helped out. Yeah, it was just amazing that the footage I've seen on it. I'd like to welcome Heath Hansen to the force and Shane Mendez on his next endeavor. Robert, you are gonna be missed. I think you have done great things for our community. I think we're in a better spot with economic development since you came aboard, so thank you. Ashley, if you're still there, thank you.
Yeah.
It's kind of a long night, so. Just a reminder, there's no Ways and Means tonight, so, if nothing else come before council, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.